This will be for the Khan assignment, estimating equations of lines of best fit and using them to make predictions. So I think all of these have two questions, two-part questions, all right? The first question will be multiple choice, and you have to write the equation of the line or choose the equation of the line. And in the second choice, you'll be plugging in a value for x, as you will see. All right, so a random sample of people was asked to report the age and distance driven of their primary car. A line was fit to the data to model the relationship. All right, so we have to write the equation of the line. And if you recall, the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so m is your slope, and b is your y-intercept. Okay, that is the value where the line intercepts the y-axis. All right. And by the way, in statistics, since this line does not perfectly fit the dots, it's the line of best fit. So instead of writing y, they write a little symbol on top of the y. Okay, so that little symbol basically makes it called y hat. Okay, it may sound funny, but that's what they call it. Okay, so let's find the slope first. We know that the formula for slope is change in y, which is y2 minus y1, divided by change in x, which is x2 minus x1. Okay, so let's trace our line to the y-axis first. Okay, now I could pick this point here, but I'd rather pick this spot here because it lines up with one of the numbers. Okay, so I'm going to start here and trace it to the y-axis. That's 140. And you subtract the other y-coordinate. If I go to the end of this line here, it looks like it's at about 5. If this is 20, this is 10, this is 5. Okay? Really, I could probably use 0 because it's close enough. All right, as a matter of fact, I'll do that just to prove it to you. I would say this is at 5, but I'm going to use 0. All right, just to prove that it works. And now using those same points, those same endpoints, trace it to the x-axis. All right, and make sure you do them in the same order. We started at this point for the y's, so I'm going to start at this point for the x's as well. Okay, and if I go down to the x-axis, doesn't have to be exact. This is 8, 9, 10. This must be 11. Okay, so the first x is 11. And then subtract the other x value. Okay, going to the other end of the line right here, this x value is 0. Okay, so that's 140 divided by 11. Okay, and just, you could do it on the calculator, but I'm going to make it simple and make it 140 over 10. So that's approximately 14. Now, before I continue, let me see if I can find a slope that's close to that, 14. Okay? The slope, see, it's mx plus b. The slope is the one that's times x. So you can see here we have x, 12x, x, 12x. All right? So we got a slope of 14. In answer A, the slope is 1. Because when there's no number in front of the x, when there's no coefficient, it's automatically 1. Okay? 14 is nowhere near close to 1, so it's not A. Same with answer C. This is just x right here. The coefficient is in front of that x is 1. Okay? So that would make this equation have a slope of 1. That's not even close. Okay, the closest one is 12. So it's either answer B or D. All right. So let's check this out on the graph. It's either B or D. And now all we need is the y-intercept, which we said was the point where it crosses the y-axis. So if you go right here, again, we said this point was about 5 on the y-axis. So I would call that B equals 5. All right, so remember, we're looking at y equals mx plus b. And we established that m had to be 12 from our choices. And now the b is positive 5, so we're looking at 12x plus 5. All right, so that is answer B. All right, now, before we check our answer, we need to plug in, based on this equation, estimate the kilometers driven on a car whose age is 7 years. All right, so as you can see, age is the x-axis, and the kilometers driven is the y-axis. So they want to know how many kilometers for the age of 7 years. Okay, so we want to plug in 7 in place of x. All right, now you can look at 7 on the graph and see where it goes to the y-axis, but you need an exact number. Okay, so we can't just eyeball it. We need to use the equation. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 7 in place of x. All right, so let's see. Now, make sure you use the choice. Make sure you use the equation that you chose. All right, since we chose answer B, we have to use that one. You can't use the slope that you got when you made your calculation. It has to be exact. So 7 years, we're going to plug in x equals 7. All right. So y hat is going to equal 12. And in place of x, we put 7 plus 5. Okay, you can do it on the calculator. 12 times 7, that's 84, plus 5, that's going to be 89. So that's the answer right here in kilometers. Okay, and now it says 89,000 kilometers. Let me just make sure the y-axis is in thousands. Okay, so we're good. 89,000 kilometers. Okay, so you don't really have to read the write-up. You're going to do the same thing on these just about every time. All right, so let's do the slope first. The slope is m, y2 minus y1, divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, so choose points. You could choose any points on the line, but I would kind of choose points that are either far away, or maybe, like I said, you can choose points that are right on the corners of the box if it's easier. Okay, because it's a line. The slope throughout the line is consistent. It's the same slope. Okay, so change in y. Let's trace the points to the y-axis. Starting with the top point, the y value is 60. And then the other y value at the bottom point, that's a 40. So it's just 60 minus 40. And now use the same points and make sure you go in the same order. Okay, we did this one first for the y's. So do this one first for the x's. All right, going down to the x's, this is a 2. And going down to the x's here, this is a 1. 60 minus 40 is 20. 2 minus 1 is 1. And that's just 20. Okay, so the slope m is 20. All right. So remember, that's the number multiplied by x. Okay, we got lucky this time. There's only 3 choices. All right. And as you can see, only one of them has a slope of 20. This one, the slope is 10. This one, the slope is negative 20. So it has to be answer B. All right. For most of them, you're also going to have to do the y-intercept. But that's not the case here because the y-intercept is plus 20 on all of them. Okay, remember the line equation. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, the b in every case is positive 20. So we didn't need to find b. They gave it to us. We just needed the slope. All right. So that's the first part. Now for the second part, we have to plug in for x. Based on the equation, estimate the score for a student that spent 3.8 hours studying. Okay, so here's the study time. The 3.8 hours is about here. Okay, we go to the graph, and then we go to the y-axis. But that's just an estimate. We can't do it that way. We have to use the equation. Okay, so I am going to plug in 3.8 in place of x, and then see what the test score estimate would be for 3.8 hours of study time. All right, let's do that. All right, so this is x equals 3.8. So right here, we have y equals 20 times x, which is 3.8, plus 20. Okay, do it on the calculator. You see, 10 times 3.8 is 38. Times 2, that's 76, plus 20, that's a 96. All right, let me check and see if I got that right. Yes, that should be correct, 96. So just enter that number in the box. All right, and that's it. And just be careful. Sometimes it might say that it's in thousands or something like that. So you have to check the axes. Okay, one time it said how many years after 2000. Okay, so you have to, after the year 2000. So you have to be careful and see what these numbers mean.